All right, welcome, Math 114 students. I just want to cut a little video to share a popular or a very good study technique that I hope you could use this summer, and if not, the rest of your math career, if not your college career, because I know what I finally learned how to do, what I'm going to show you, it made a difference in everything that I did. So at this time, I hope you have read through the summary I've sent, and you're now watching this video, and hopefully the study guide that I'll give you will be a good one. And I don't know if you guys remember, let me share my screen, share a little bit my story again. Oops, share my screen here. If you read my intro at the beginning of the year when you're doing some items, I told you that I was not a very good math student, right? My history, I got a 42% on my first math exam. I struggled mightily. And to be honest, to make a long story short, I lashed out at everybody else. My instructor was stupid. The textbook was stupid. I couldn't get help. And it was everybody else's fault. Except my own. All right. So that's the kind of student that I was. And I carried on this way for quite a while until I was really on the verge of failing a class. So I know I needed help. So I went out and I got help. And uh, to make a long story short, the counselor I was working with listened to my story, listened to me lash out at people, and I would, she basically was trying to get out of me, what is your study technique? How, typically you should be spending 2 to 3 hours studying for every class hour that you do. That's the golden rule or the magic number, if you would. And I would spend more time lashing out rather than telling her what my study habits were. And then finally, she slowed me down and said, okay, I get all that. Everybody probably sucks, but what are your study habits? And so I would kind of tell her, well, I would go to class, kind of listen. I'm a busy person, so I'd go do other things. And then about 2 or 3 days before the exam date, I would start trying to review for the final or not the final, for the test that was coming up. And I would spend more of my time looking through the notes, trying to look through the book, trying to find examples that fit the homework that I was stuck on. And I couldn't find them. And it was frustrating. I'd spend hours and hours doing this, 8 or 9 hours just trying to prep for a stupid test. And the instructor was stupid. The textbook was stupid. Everybody was stupid. And so finally, she asked me this question, and I don't know if I was ready to hear it or not, but she said, Frank, did you ever take the time to understand the notes or the textbook in the first place? And of course, I had to say no. I had never even thought of it that way. And she let me know that notes are very important because they're essentially a communication between myself and the instructor, and I should take time to actually understand what's in my notes. And I had never done that before. I would just go take them and then just go do the homework, and then just get stuck because I never really understood anything. I didn't understand what the instructor was telling me. And that's bad because the notes that we take are essentially the guidelines. It's a one-on-one communication between you and the instructor. The instructor is basically telling you what he or she thinks is important. And I was missing out on that all entirely. Even though I was taking notes, I wasn't really dialed in. All right. And so she gave me a study technique. Over the years, as I've been teaching, I've called it URPing. All right. And essentially, you need to do this. You need to review the class lectures. You need to redo class examples, and you need to practice doing your homework. All right. And again, that sounds daunting, but that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to break it down for you in a second. All right. So how do we ERP? Well, let me go ahead and share another thing for you. Um, what I also do for some classes that I teach, unfortunately for the summer, we don't have a lot of time, but definitely for the Math 108 classes, I ask my students, think of your best class. What do you do, right? That makes you so successful. And here's a laundry list of some of the answers, right? They ask questions, they manage their time, they stay organized, they keep a positive attitude. That one was really important because you're going to fail. And in your classes that you feel best at, right, unfortunately, it might not be math. When you fail, you actually turn it into the learning opportunity it is. In math, we tend to kind of, oh my God, I suck at math. And we defeat ourselves, giving ourselves some self-defeating things. Taking notes, right? You take good notes, you read info carefully, you know the instructions, right? You listen, you plan ahead, you're prepared, you don't lose motivation, you focus on the goal, right? And more importantly, notice that all this stuff What it takes is time. So we do know how to be successful. We just need to apply it to a class. And unfortunately, math is one of those classes where we're probably not real comfortable in. So we just have to try very hard to apply that to something we don't like because we do know how to be successful. Think about it. All right. I know shorten the video, shorten things up. But if you really thought about what you do to be successful in class, right, you do all those things, if not more. So you just have to apply it to your math class. And as I said, way we're going to do this is by URPing. All right. So URPing broken down into pieces, right? You basically need to do this, right? That's what the U stands for. No one else can do it for you. It's imperative that you take good notes. Like I said, the notes are a one-on-one communication between you and me. I am showing you what I think is important. I'm giving you definitions the way they should be defined, right? And I'm basically demonstrating how you should be showing your work. So if I'm doing it in the notes, you better be doing it in your quizzes and everything else. Basically you got to mimic what I'm doing. So that's why when you'll notice that in the modules, I give you 3 attempts to get the notes right, and they're also worth 5 points more than the quiz because notes are important. What I'm hoping what'll happen is you can keep these notes for the rest of your math careers, and you can always refer to them because what we're learning is so foundational. I even have calculus students who sometimes forget some of these basic algebra techniques that I'll be showing you throughout the summer. So I'm hoping you take good notes throughout the summer, you get perfect fives, you understand them, and you're ready to roll. Once you've taken good notes, your next step shouldn't be go do the homework. It's actually to sit down with your notes and review them in detail. For example, what I would do as a student is I would go to class, and my instructors I found out were actually very good because when I walked out of class, I actually understood what they were saying. I felt confident. However, I would do go about, my job and all that other stuff and my other classes, and I wouldn't take the time to really figure out, did I really know what I thought I knew? And of course, once I started reviewing for the test, I realized I did not, and I panicked. So what you want to do as soon as you can after the notes is you want to review the notes. Make sure you understand the reasonings that I was using, the how to do the problems, why I took a first step, why I did this and the second or third steps. Make sure you really understand why. If you need to, rewatch segments of videos if you don't understand why, or start asking questions on the discussion board. All right. After you've done a thorough review of your notes, the next R stands for redo. All right. What you're going to basically do is I would encourage you to reprint out the guided notes or rewrite them out and try doing all the problems on your own without referencing anything else. Don't reference your notes. Don't, reference questions or anything. Just try to do every single problem you're on your own. Of course, you already have your answer key because you have your notes. All right. So make sure you're doing that. And then after you finally have done that, notice because of these 2 R's, I now know what the examples are showing. I know in detail some of the definitions. It's not a crapshoot. And so what I found is when I'd go practice, when I was doing for you guys, it's a section quiz, but for me, it was a homework, and that's what you should really be treating it as rather than being lost trying to find an example that seemed to fit the one I was stuck on, I actually knew I was like, hey, here's this problem. This kind of looks like the fifth problem we did in the notes. And they were different. The numbers were different, but the concepts were still the same. This problem I'm working on has fractions. Here's how Frank did one with fractions in his notes. I probably should mimic what I see there, right? Because I understood what it meant there. I should do the same thing there. So you'll start to see a lot of patterns. And that's when you really start to understand math because now you know how to do a whole bunch of problems rather than just one specific problem and on and on and on. So that is also why practice, when you guys are doing your section quizzes and homework, it only is worth 3 points. It's less than the notes because I'm allowing you the opportunity to make mistakes. mistakes and learn from them. It's okay. Make sure you're reading my feedback on your section quizzes and homework, by the way, because even though you got a perfect 3, that doesn't mean you didn't get some things wrong. It's just, because the point value is so low, it's okay to get maybe 2 or 3 things wrong, but still get a 3. So please make sure you're always reading my feedback to make sure you truly did perfectly. So that's ERPing. You need to take good notes. You need to review your notes in detail. You need to redo the problems on your own. And you need to practice. All right. Now that sounds very daunting, right? That's a lot of work, but I promise you it works. It changed basically my whole attitude about being a student. I applied it to all my other classes. I got so good at this, especially as I was reviewing my notes. I was getting in my instructor's head and I knew what they thought was important. I could almost anticipate what was going to be on exams because I saw a pattern. I said, hey, this guy keeps putting equations with fractions in them. I better be prepared for fractions on my quiz. And even in those history classes and English classes where I had to write an essay, because I was taking such good notes in there, I was in the instructor's head. I knew which character they thought was important, what event in the book was important. And when the time for essays and all stuff was due, I already had it already planned out because I knew what the instructor wanted to know. So this is very, very powerful for all classes. Again, it sounds daunting, but let's go ahead and think, what's the golden rule is we should be spending about 2 to 3 hours outside of class, right? Doing some things. So, 2 to 3 hours working through a module. So here's my suggested study routine for the class layout, right? Since you're taking a quiz, every night, basically, the following morning when I post the answer key, you should spend about 10-15 minutes reviewing the previous module answer key along with your section graded quiz, right? Just to make sure you understand what your mistakes are. If you don't, you got to start asking questions and stuff like that. So 10 to 15 minutes to basically review, the module that you did the previous day. Your next order of business is to spend about 45 to 60 minutes doing the new modules, right? Print out your guided notes, watch the videos, take notes, right? Make sure they're good. All right. I'll grade them to make sure they're good, that you caught everything that I was basically saying. Again, this is kind of locked into how many minutes I'm doing. I try to leave every module to 60 minutes, but as you guys know now, some of them are less. Some are done in 30 or 40 minutes. So this might take less time based off of the module we're doing. After you've watched the videos and taken good notes, right, and hopefully I've graded them, you should spend 30 to 45 minutes doing the double R's, reviewing and redoing. Make sure you do a thorough review of your notes. Make sure you can redo all the examples totally on your own without having to access things. Don't fight the urge to memorize. Make sure you understand each step. And then after you've finally done that, now you're ready for the section quiz and the homework. You're ready to go do the practice phase of what you think you're doing, right? So you've ERPed, you've taken good notes, you've done the double R's, and now you're practicing. And then hopefully the section quizzes and homework will go a little bit easier. All right. And a little hint, I'm not around, so if you want to use your notes to help you do the section quiz and homework, go for it. Just make sure, try to do as much as you can on your own. Definitely don't let anybody else do that. And then, of course, to account for all the file conversions and downloading, right? There'll probably be about 10 or 15 minutes where you do that, converting things to PDF files, whatever the case might be. And again, if you're real proficient with that, maybe that's faster. And so when you basically add this all up, I think I have a typo there. If you look at all the numbers on the low end, they add up to 125 minutes. If you look at all the numbers on the high end, you're looking at 180 minutes. And so basically you've reached your magic studying number, right? 2 to 3 hours of time for every module that we do. All right. And it's organized, you know what you should be doing at each step. And the beauty about this is you can actually do it in separate times of the day. Maybe in the morning you review, right? I don't know what your schedules are, right? Maybe in the morning right after that, you do the new modules, go to work, do some things. In the evening, you do some reviewing and redoing. And then right before, the magic hour of midnight, you spend about 30 minutes doing your quiz and getting it uploaded. So that's kind of the beauty of this. It doesn't have to be done all at once. Okay. Try it. It works like a charm, right? That is what I meant by ERPing. And again, I hope to see you guys doing that. Like I said, it made such a difference for me that I am now a math teacher. All right. And like I said, I literally sucked at math when I started my college algebra career or my college career. Huge difference for me. If you have any questions about this study aid or this study method, please go ahead and email me or come see me during an office hour and I'll share more information with you. But make sure you're ERPing. You're taking good notes. You're reviewing what's in them. You're redoing all the problems on your own, and then you're practicing your quizzes and turning those in. All right, good luck, and let's continue to have a great semester.